twisted like it's stir fry. Whip it in the kitchen, wrist twisted like it's stir fry. Whip it in the kitchen, wrist twisted like it's stir fry. Whip it in the kitchen, wrist twisted like it's stir fry. I'll take a whip it, intermission, let the birds fly. I get money, turn no vision through my third.
Welcome to the Beat 139. I'm Doc.
I'm Lady Ray.
I'm Don Vito. How y'all doing this evening?
Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm KD Outlaw.
So today we're here with John Burnett. He is the founder and CEO of One Empire Group. He is also a Black Republican, people. Yes, you know, and
a rarity.
Okay.
So yes, that means he is an avid Trump supporter. So, yeah, we're gonna just, he has his own business. He is the CEO of One Empire Group, which is a consulting firm specializing in business analytics and development. So I just want you to just get into, you know, a little bit about yourself, what you have going on right now, which I'm sure is a lot. And
well, I focus on business. I also teach at NYU.
Yes.
Also, I teach online courses at Hampton University.
Mm-hmm.
What is it you teach?
I teach, well, at NYU I teach business organization and management, organizational behavior, and international political economy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I teach some of the same courses at Hampton University with the addition of management of international business.
Okay.
So Hampton, New York. So how are you doing that? Online?
Well, it's on Hampton
Okay.
University is online.
Okay. That's cool.
So where are you from, Mr. Burnett?
Well, I was born in the People's Republic of Brooklyn.
That was a good one.
I was like, what?
Yeah, okay.
So a native New Yorker.
Right. And then I migrated to Queens. Well, my family did. And then I've been living in Harlem for a while.
Harlem, stand up.
I'm straight New York.
Wow.
Okay.
All the way.
It's good. It's great.
Good.
It's great right there.
So let's start off talking about your company.
Sure.
The founder and CEO of One Empire Group. What is One Empire Group?
Well, One Empire Group focuses on small as well as large businesses in terms of development, analytics, access to capital, process reengineering. Well, people say, well, what is process reengineering? You know, when I look at the McDonald's model, right, they know and already figured out how many steps are necessary as it relates to the time it takes to make a burger.
Mm-hmm.
So they already mastered that process.
Right.
When you look at any job function, it always boils down to steps and process to make sure that you're not eroding value and you're maximizing time and delivery, which ties to the bottom line.
Right.
That's the easiest way to explain it.
Okay.
So you're like into efficiency and how to product management.
Absolutely.
And risk. Okay.
Tying it to growth, operations, things of that nature. Also business continuity, right?
Yeah.
If something happens, you need to be able to flip a switch
Right.
to make sure that your product or service can continue. Like one of the things that will dovetail later on into political strategy, you know, this is the iPhone.
Yes.
Right.
Most people don't know that Samsung chips are in some iPhones,
Oh.
but they are arch rivals
Yes.
in terms of devices, in terms of operating system, as well as they sue each other on an annual basis over intellectual property.
Right.
So even though they are arch enemies, they still find a way to do business together that's mutually beneficial.
Because they have the same distributors, same manufacturers, like China. Is that the reason? Like they're using the same people to build their phones. So
Well, in terms of chips,
yeah.
right? So Apple, they have other chip makers, but as part of their operations, they've also chose, in terms of business continuity and other business reasons, to also include Samsung chips in their phone. But they're using a competitor's chip in their phone.
Right.
Think about that. Why would you do that, right? So the reason why I wanted to throw that out there, because we're going to come back to that when
Right.
we get on the topic of politics in
Uh-huh.
the black community
Right.
with respect to the Republican Party.
Okay.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Can you tell us more about risk management and also what companies you help represent?
Well, I don't want to say any companies on air
Yeah.
because you got to get approval first.
Okay.
Right.
But with respect to risk management, it's several different things, right? There's risk. There's so many different risks
In business.
in business.
Absolutely.
Like business continuity is one of them, right? How do I continue to operate if there's a hurricane, if there's some other type of storm, if there's a supply disruption, right? You might have several different suppliers that go into making your product. If something happens with any one of them, how do I continue my business? So that way I don't hurt the bottom line and I can still maintain customer satisfaction.
Yes.
Right.
Right? And then there's other market risk, financial risk. If you're doing business overseas, there's currency risk. There's a lot of different risk, right? That's why business people tend to stay up at night thinking about all these things, not just what they want to happen, but also thinking about what could happen to make sure that things run smoothly. That's why, it's always good in business to be a little paranoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
just
Because
to
it's
make
the,
sure.
the woulda, shoulda,
Right,
coulda,
'cause
the
when you
covering the
get too
basis.
comfortable,
Yeah.
get too relaxed. Some
Right.
people say the same thing happens in relationships.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
always have to be a little,
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know,
It's
That's
true.
true.
So
that
it
makes
worked.
a lot of sense. A whole lot of sense.
So what made you start the company?
Well, it's a long process. I started off at Dean Witter at 19 years old as a margin analyst and worked my way up. And in 2013, I was my last corporate function. I was over a global operation at McGraw-Hill, which is now S&P Platts.
Right.
And I ran for office, New York City Comptroller.
Yeah.
I know I got all your votes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I ain't sweating that.
We crossed party. We crossed our party and came
Cross
and
party line,
represented
right?
you, black man.
Absolutely. Why not?
I got the R this time. So, I don't like to say I lost. I came in second place. I beat 3 other people.
Right.
good.
Right. So, and it's funny, at that point in time, I was asked shortly after I ran to write, to address certain political issues and economic issues in certain publications. So I wrote some articles. My first article was published in Roll Call in D.C. Then all of a sudden I was asked to start doing TV commentary. I started getting used to it. I'm like, wow, this is really good. If I go back to financial services, they won't let me go out into the public and
Yeah.
say what I think on different
Right.
companies
Right.
and issues because it could be a conflict
Of interest, yeah.
with the bank or broker dealers, operations and function, right? Overall business.
Right.
So I said, wow. Then all of a sudden I was asked to teach and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, I'm doing everything I said I would never do.
Yeah.
Coming up in corporate America, the way I politicked in the office, they always called me mayor, senator, congressman because of the way I was able to get things done through other people,
Right.
right? Even with resistance. So, but I said I would never be a politician. Lo and behold, in 2013.
It was
I ran for
inevitable.
office.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is this? Right?
Yeah.
Then I said I would never, I'm not a journalist. I'm still not a journalist. But you know what? I think I can write well, but I don't feel like writing articles.
Yeah.
To date, I've written 105 articles on business, the economy, policy, and politics.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Then I said I would never teach.
And now here you are.
I
adjunct
started off at
professor.
Metropolitan College of New York,
Yeah.
then Hampton University Online,
And then-
then NYU.
Yeah.
I said I would never teach, and I love it.
Never say never.
Wow.
I love
You
it.
love it. See, that's the thing. You love it.
In fact, one of my students texted me, said, I had this weird dream. I don't know what it's about. How you doing, Professor Burnett? We should hang out. I said, you know what? To take care of that, I prescribed 3 hours of watching Fox News, refrain from watching MSNBC and CNN, and you should feel better in 3 days. But the thing is, I had that rapport with my students.
Yeah.
They know who I am.
Yeah.
But because of the relationship, and I take great care in making sure they learn business, politics, and the overall market in the economy, because they see that passion, I can actually, joke around.
Yeah,
And
Right.
I can take it too. I'm the youngest of 7, so I can take a lot.
Wow.
So I'm doing all these different things I said I would never do. And then I said I would never go on TV, especially live TV,
Yeah. Right.
right? Whether it's a podcast or a broadcast,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
it's all going well. So, in fact, I was just telling Vernon that last week, Channel 4 News, which is in direct competition with BBC News for the #1 spot in London, reached out to me on Twitter and asked me, can you come in 2 hours? We'll send you to a studio to talk about Amazon UK's tax bill.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
People in London want to know what John Burnett has to say on Amazon's tax bill?
Yeah.
I said, hell yeah. I'm there.
Well, you seem to be so well versed in so many areas, and particularly with your students, you teach one thing, but because you do so many, are you leading them into politics and also business?
Well, the two are sides of the same coin,
Yeah.
right? Business is politics. Politics is business. And while they're separate disciplines, we talk about issues through the lens of politics in one course, but at the same time, I educated them on the way that the banking system operates and how certain policies tie in to certain conditions and linking all that together. And also, the way I teach business organ management, first, I begin to explain to them that technically you should view yourself as a company. You Inc. You have revenues, you have expenses, you have all these different things, right?
A lot of sense.
So that way, because, sometimes the class is full of adults at night, and then sometimes it's, 18, 19-year-olds that really don't have a broad spectrum of experience in terms of business. So I said, you Inc. And I make it relatable. And I teach the principles of business so that way they can see themselves in business and managing and dealing with all these issues. And one of the key concepts, and this is a business mindset, many people look at disaster. Oh no, it's a disaster. There's a poem called If. If you, and one of the parts of If says, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. Because when there's disaster, there's opportunity. Right. And when there's opportunity, disaster may be not too far behind. So you have to prepare for both. When Warren Buffett, during the 2008 collapse, the government stepped in, did the bailout and all that other stuff. Warren Buffett put $5 billion in Bank of America. I said, whoa.
Because they were going down.
While everyone is running away,
He's
the
meeting the
government put
opposition.
out tax dollars, which made me a little nervous. But I said, wait a minute, Buffett's putting $5 billion in Bank of America? Guess what, John is going to buy 3,000 shares of Bank of America because Buffett's not losing $5 billion.
He's not losing it. Right.
So he must have known something we didn't know.
So as a people, everyone should be doing this, but as black people, we should, instead of running and embracing and hugging socialism, we should understand capitalism. We help build capitalism with free labor. The last thing we should do is run away from capitalism. Yeah. We have to understand it and work the principles so that way we can empower ourselves.
Right.
Okay.
That lunch thing, the reason why they don't help happen to other people, because they don't focus on marching.
Yeah.
They don't focus on all these other things that don't lead to
money
and economics. That's what runs things.
I was going to ask that.
The
Yeah,
same
go ahead.
thing because remember when the whole Starbucks thing happened? Those shares went down. I bought in. I hope everybody else did because 2 days later, it jumped up. I mean, yes, I made an extra, $40 a share, but that was something.
That's right.
But this is you use politics, you use things that are going on in the world, and you use it to your advantage.
You capitalize on an opportunity.
Right.
Hence capitalism.
Right.
But what I realized, and we have a segment next week with children going back to school and focusing on education. What I realized is there's a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge when it comes to most of the things that you're speaking about. How do we close that wealth gap within our community?
Excellent question. So, this is what I'd like to do.
Okay.
Right. This is one of the reasons why I ran for comptroller. Right. And if I run again, I expect everyone to vote and give me money.
absolutely.
Okay,
You know what I'm
okay.
saying? Just put that plug out there.
Okay.
But I think that, when you look at what I said about African Americans here, but then when you look at the globe,
Yes.
we've all traveled and we've all had some kid run up to us to try to sell us something, and we try to say, you know what? Oh, I only have American.
Yes.
That kid already knows and understands what the exchange rate is and can do the calculation in his or her head.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
True.
So entrepreneurship is in our DNA globally, no matter where you come from,
Okay.
no matter what country you pick. So why is it right here in America, the beacon of capitalism, that we don't teach it from grade school on out?
Okay.
Thank you. I say that all
Right.
the time.
But I don't think that's accidental.
It's
No,
not.
it's
not. It's not
It's not.
accidental.
It's not.
not.
It's not accidental. But to the extent that we can get it done in public school education, that's
Yes.
great. If we cannot, and whether we do it or not, we should be talking about it in our homes, in our communities, on podcasts, and so forth.
Absolutely.
When you look at, it's about culture.
Yes.
There's not a culture of entrepreneurship in the black community.
Right.
There's not a culture of investments. There's not a culture of owning property.
Right.
I always say, and you can buy my book when it comes out.
Okay.
There's 3 ways to make money.
Hey, John, do me a favor, right? We got to go to a commercial break.
Okay, I'm gonna hold that
Hold
thought.
No, but
Hold that
before you
thought.
go, I need those 3 because you got us rolling.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
give
everybody's
us the
watching.
3.
Nah,
Yeah.
we're gonna come back. You cut.
We're going to come
Okay.
back come
It's
right
called a
back.
teaser for the
Okay,
audience to make
okay.
sure they stay tuned in.
Okay.
Exactly.
'Cause I was like, just hold it. So, Mr. Burnett, before we went to break, you had us holding on to every word. We want to continue. You were speaking of wealth creation and the 3 ways to obtain those. Please continue.
So the 3 ways of wealth creation, in my view,
Yes.
is owning a business, right? Then investing into markets in terms of stock market and things of that nature.
Okay.
And the 3rd is real estate.
Real estate.
The 4th thing is going to work. Now, I'm not degrading work. Work is good. That's a start. But even if you never open a business, you should at least learn how to invest and buy property if you can't work all 3 pillars.
Okay.
But the key is to work all those 3 things, because that way you can actually create wealth. Salmon really quickly to understand economics is $12.99. I go to I want to say specifically the Asian fish market. They sell farm raised for $15.99.
Not even wild.
Right.
Okay.
But at the same wild olive, farm raised is $8.99.
Uh-huh.
So it's mind-boggling that we would go and settle for that in our community. That's price gouging.
Yeah.
And
Only if they haven't compared.
And I see the big, EBT card and things of that nature. I said, they're ripping off our community.
That much profit they take in.
Right. But if we own that business, right, in other stores, in our community, there's a certain thing called velocity of the dollar,
Which
where
is-
it changes hands several times before it goes out of the community. Those are economic things that we have to talk about and understand. And you said, well, some of us don't understand. I say I disagree.
Yeah.
She spoke about that last week, and I said the same
I disagree.
thing.
Look.
Yeah.
Businesses,
I agree.
whatever state offers a business the most incentives and tax break, that's where they're going.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You do the same thing. If Target or some other store, you want to buy a product, whether it be online or from a brick and mortar, right? You're looking where the value is.
Right.
And guess what? You're going to factor in, well, it costs, I got to pay,
Shipping,
Subway there
yeah.
and back, or shipping, or what. You're doing that analysis.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you're saying to yourself, okay, the best value is here. This is where my money's going.
Yes.
That's why I go back to You Inc. We do the same thing and make the same decisions that businesses do. Even illegal activity, right? I'll take a brother off the corner teach him the right way, right? He can run a business.
Mm-hmm.
That brother knows about employees, knows about distribution, knows about supply chain, knows about margin, all of that. Only thing they don't do is advertise, right? The brother might need a little help with advertising, but everything else.
Well, the streets talk, so it's still
solid.
free advertisement. Yeah.
It's solid. So the thing is, what I always teach people, start from where you are and what you know, and stop saying that what you don't know, and stop saying that it's hard. It's really not hard. We're already doing it.
Doing it.
But the capital, we don't own the assets
Right.
to generate the cash flow. See, one thing I learned in business school, one is cash is king, right? And when you look at bankruptcy, right, the people have houses, the people have cars, they have all types of assets.
Yes.
But those assets aren't generating cash. That's the reason for bankruptcy, is when you run out of cash.
Their liabilities.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Just that, but you speak of wealth, and I realize often that people misunderstand income and wealth. What you make and what you spend is not wealth. Wealth is what you keep. Wealth is what you can pass down,
Like you said that.
and so intergenerational debt goes. We can't pass anything down, because I know people that make 26,000. I know people that make 240. But the people who make the most still spend it. They have no
Spend the
liquid
most.
assets.
Wh-
They don't
wherever
keep
wherever
it.
you are, manage your money effectively.
Yeah.
Right? And make sure that you do well with what you make, whatever it is. Start from somewhere.
But that's not
That is the
taught.
key. Because interest can work for you and against you. On the debt side,
Yeah.
interest can kill you. But also interest in terms of actual money interest or capital gains can work for you on the other side
Yeah.
as well. But again, we don't. And another thing that will be in my book, principle of money. We should be thinking about how do our investments or how the cash that we have, how can we put it to work so the return on that cash surpasses the cost of money. I tell people, I said, look, you're looking at savings accounts and CDs. That's barely keeping up with inflation. Then when you look at credit cards or any other debt, if you own a home or whatever interest you're paying, the return on the cash savings and the CDs is far less.
Yeah.
So your money and your return is not keeping up with the pace
Real
of the
estate.
cost of money and exceeding that.
Yes.
So we got to even understand money and also understand the tax system. People say, well, I don't understand why Mitt Romney only paid 15%. Because, and I pay 33%. Why? Because income, W-2 money, there's no risk. You go to work, you get paid. It's a guarantee.
It's guaranteed.
There's no risk. But if you make an investment, guess what? That's after tax dollars. You already been taxed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get some callers to call in. Get some callers to call in.
You know,
Just give them the number to call in, Kim. 646-628-4264.
Call John Burnett. He got some good information right here. We want you
Great
to call in.
information. Can change the course of our community.
646-628-4264.
We heard you were a Republican. I said, but this Republican has a lot to teach us.
I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican.
Okay. Because we started off as Republicans, didn't we?
Yeah. We've been hoodwinked and bamboozled.
And then the shift
There's
happened.
there's racism on both sides. I look at race algebraically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember in algebra, whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you cancel out similar things.
Mhm.
So you cancel out the racism. So that way you can solve the equation.
That was a good analogy.
But if you stuck on race, there's racism on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, so between the Democrat and Republican, when you was growing up, you said you cut out both sides. What makes you pick?
Well, I cut out racism. So in terms of like, I don't factor that in.
Yes.
to my decision making.
Your decision making was based on.
So my father, I'm unique. I was born in 1969, right? So my father was born in 1925. My mom in 1926. So my parents growing up in school was as old as other people's grandparents.
Yeah.
And some of my brothers and sisters were old enough to be my parents.
Oh, okay.
I was an oops baby. They
You were
had
the
me
last,
late.
last of
She was
7, you
43.
said. Wow, okay.
Right, and my father was 44. So I grew up with conservative values. Now my parents were conservative Democrats, right? But when I analyzed their views, they probably were right in that middle, or actually more right, but they were Democrats, right? Then in 1997, after 10 years being on the 9 years being on the street, I said, wait a minute. I understand now how to make money, how to do all these different things. I said, and then someone asked me, why are you still a Democrat? I said, because and we went through tax policy, we went through economic growth, all these different issues. I said, wow, you know what? And I looked at the one side that actually is promoting individual empowerment and wealth, and the other side is just the opposite. So in 1997, I began my shift to the Republican Party. And in 2004, I switched.
Okay.
Officially switched my party. But it's not about switching parties. It's about analyzing information and then voting accordingly. Because in 2000, I voted for Gore. 2004, I voted for Bush. 2008, I voted for Obama. 2012, I voted for Mitt Romney. And, after that, I voted for Trump.
So let's talk about politics from the Republican aspect.
Sure.
Like immigration. What's your take on immigration?
Well, I'll say this. There's many people in the black community that through their own experiences and other people's experience, they feel like they can't get a break under the law. Right?
Yeah.
So harsh. So my thing is, overstay visas or the border, all these things. Look, why are sanctuaries being created for people that broke the law to get here, then broke the law again, when black people can't get a break? Then you have some liberals saying that they want to give illegals the right to vote. And last time I checked, at one point in time, we weren't considered human. We were considered 3/5 of a man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, let me finish. And we had to wait several hundred years to be freed, and then wait another 100 years just for the right to vote. So we should be looking at immigration a lot differently, and perhaps my views might be different. And this is not bashing anybody. I love everybody, but we cannot get our own things met that we want if the door is wide open and there's floodgates coming in, unlimited numbers of people that we don't know, either overstaying visas or at the border. So I look at it as an economic issue. I don't hate anybody. It has nothing to do with that. This is really an economic thing. And perhaps my view might be different if more people from the Caribbean and Africa was a part of illegal and legal immigration. But we have a very small number on both of those sides.
Okay. Now, what I want to say is, yes, immigration, America is for the people, by the people, right? The only reason blacks, African Americans, why we are free today is because they wanted that number for more money for the economy, basically. So, yeah, there weren't enough whites. There were a lot of slaves and African Americans brought over.
Absolutely.
And they said, guess what? Business-wise, we need this money. We need these votes. We need this. So this is why we're free. And then when it comes to immigration, I feel like America should still stand by this as far as immigration is concerned. Because,
we still have immigration.
They are denying people visas. They're denying. They're not even, as far as what I see, they're not even allowing people to apply, or if they are applying, they're stagnant. There's not even responses coming through, or the responses that are coming through is no, denied, constantly. Picking people up in vans and stuff like that, because these people, yes, they're taking money out of America's pockets, but that's all it is. That's all it comes down to.
But when you look at it, right, there's a lot of blacks that I talk to when I travel throughout this country. We're not monolithic in our thinking, and some of them actually say that, you know what, every time there's a new language, whatever resources, they can find the money to do whatever needs to be done in education, in other areas. But when it comes to addressing black issues or to investing more into the black community, it's silence.
Right, I agree with that. Can I ask?
And one last thing. And when you look globally, this Brexit is about the same issue. You look at all these other international countries, like, wait a second. We got to take care of our own. We can't be taking in all these people in unlimited numbers. Because resources are not unlimited.
Resources are not, right.
But can I go back to, I agree with that, but I wanted, if you could repeat your correlation between the immigration and what our people haven't been given, because I don't think there's a direct relation. I think the things that our people fight for that haven't been given are things that the government doesn't want to provide. I don't think that immigration is a distraction or it's too many of them so we can't help the blacks. I think that isn't directly the need. I don't think that's what they want to do.
We haven't built wealth to place ourselves in position to demand it. We think our demands can only be met at the ballot box or marching in other ways.
Absolutely.
But what I'm saying is that there's resources always found for everybody else that comes into the country, except for those that are black that are here.
And if you run for comptroller again, will you stress and teach more of those?
I'm gonna tell you what my plans. This is the first time I'm saying this publicly.
Say
this is breaking news.
Breaking news.
You heard it here first. I need to know your plan. You've got my interest.
So this was my plan. I'm not trying to be mayor. I'm not trying to be president. Right? I was gonna be like a black kamikaze. Right? Just go in. Yeah. We need to get this education right. We're going to get this MWBE right and hold people accountable. We're going to get all these other things right. Because you know what? I don't care. Because the problem is people get into office and they have to return favors. Then they want to get to the next position. So they pick their top 3 things that they push. Leave everything off to the side. I was saying, you know what? Yeah. I don't care. I'm blowing everything up, exposing everything. This is what we need to do. Yeah. This is how we're going to get it done. Right? I love Mayor Dinkins. But at that time that he was mayor, they had brownstones for $1 in Brooklyn.
Right? Harlem, too.
And it's not just Mayor Dinkins. It's all these black politicians that we still give our vote and money to. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. In exchange for a few dollars for some block parties, right? Mm-hmm. So the thing is, there's not a nonprofit as well as individuals that the houses should have been bought up, and they should have taught people.
Because I didn't know about it. Everybody says
this is how you can do this. Get the funding to fix it up and so forth. Mm-hmm. So even if you pay the taxes and set on it for a while, you can sell a shell for $1 million, $1.5 million, and walk away with wealth, and then have businesses at the base of different buildings.
Yeah.
But see, we don't talk politics because we're so focused on race. We don't talk wealth creation. We're so focused on race. Look, this is America. There's always going to be white people on both sides hating us.
Right.
But this is a country like no other.
Yeah.
That if we get knowledgeable on how things work, we can make it work for ourselves.
Absolutely. I think at the root of it, they've always disliked us. And despite that, we've still continued to grow. And so imagine if we could do something more with that knowledge.
Well, Malcolm
because
X said,
they've
we've done
never
so
wanted.
much for so long with so little, we are not qualified to do anything with nothing.
But now, like I said the last show, there is no excuse. There are plenty of opportunities, resources, and everything else.
Absolutely.
As far as immigrants are concerned, I feel like they are taking advantage of that opportunity. They
are.
have businesses.
Absolutely.
And this is what is upsetting the government because they can't tax these people. But guess what?
What do you mean they can't tax these people?
Well, they're taxing them, but guess what? They already found loopholes to find whoever is legal, you know, and I'm making this much in my little deli, but now I have 5. And you don't even know, and it's all in your community. It's all in your community.
Let's bring it specifically in terms of, let's say Africans, right? I look at Africans. Man,
me too.
They doing it.
I love some Africans.
I love them. In fact, those, like all the African Americans.
No, I do. I'm going back to Africa to buy property.
I'm keeping it on the black hand side.
I love.
But the Africans,
You know
man,
what?
they put up my
He's been watching Donald
posters.
Trump a lot.
They had the Africans had my back. They said, brother, you know, they took down your sign. Bring another one. They had my back. Why? Because I supported their businesses.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, they open up stores. They're doing it.
Yeah, I know.
So the issue is not race in terms, oh man, holding me down.
Opportunity
Most
and
Africans have
knowledge.
a different mentality.
Yes.
So how do we shift the mentality, and that becomes the broader issue of so many
We
issues.
gotta love each other, brother.
Right.
We gotta
Absolutely.
trust each other.
That's
Sister.
first and
You know what I'm
first
saying?
and
But you know what?
You
That's
have
what.
to get knowledge.
Sharing knowledge.
And not just
But reversing self-hatred as well.
True, but not just focusing on
Race. Okay.
It's like
We focus too much on race. Okay.
and emotions and everything else.
Get this money
Oh my
and learn
God.
how to wealth creation.
Oh my goodness.
Keep
It's
your
not-
feelings
It's not
yourself.
only about race. I feel like everything that's going on is just people just shedding light on stuff that you didn't have the opportunity to do some odd years ago. Now social media allows you to. So this is what people are doing. They just want to say, hey, this is us. Yes, we're here. Regardless of race or whatever, this is wrong. So people can try and push, tired of the whole black stuff, you guys, you know, Jewish people had it worse, whatever it is. At the end of the day, wrong is wrong, and they're just bringing light to it.
But-
so I feel like...
You mentioned
just-
Jewish, right? You know, the Jews sat down with Trump, and guess what they got? They got Jerusalem. And no other president was willing to step up and do that, right? Then they got this Nazi that the court... federal judge ordered him deported
In what, 2011?
back in
2004.
2003.
But then
Before.
something went in action on
But-
2011 or
but
14.
countries didn't want to accept him.
Okay.
So no president, nobody did anything. Trump got his behind out of here.
He finally left this week,
He said,
right?
Germany, you're going to take
You gotta take him. Oh, he go.
We're going to
Yeah.
get this done. Why? Because their cohort didn't look at whether he's racist or whether he's this, that, and the other. They looked at it
The paper-
as this is what we want. And you know what? This, like you said earlier, this is a guy who executes on what he actually says.
Yeah.
So if we engage, can get something, we need to get it. And so
Right.
far, we've got a few things that the mainstream media hasn't broadcasted.
Right. Well, we love all the things that you've said here today, and I think you shed light on a lot of things. One thing you're not going to do is make us like Trump, but but your points are valid.
But the thing is, again, you think Apple loves Samsung?
Right. It's
They
just
do business together.
right.
That's all. That's all this is.
that's one
We ain't got the love
With ourselves, our
It's
communities.
whoever is there, whether it's Democrat or Republican, whoever's there. We need a strategic mindset. Just like Apple thought it through the strategy, we need a strategic mindset, not all this emotion. Case in point, in 1957, do you know that's when the first civil rights bill was passed?
Yes.
Right. It was watered down. Guess who watered it down?
Who?
Lyndon Baines Johnson. He was head of the Senate. He stripped the Voter Rights Act and other elements from it. So when it came back up, it passed. Now, Malcolm X bashed him for years for being a racist. Guess who signed the Civil Rights Bill?
The same
Lyndon
man.
Baines Johnson.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying Trump is a racist. What I'm saying is anybody in a strategic mindset and landscape can be used as an asset to move an agenda forward.
Okay. He don't
That
at
make
the
a lot
core
of
of him. He
sense.
doesn't have to like us or care for us.
You
But if
don't-
we can get him,
You ain't got to
To
care
do
for
things.
any Republican or Democrat.
Or any person,
But if
but-
they have power,
Same.
you get it done.
and the purpose is
That
to
make a lot
get
of
it done.
sense.
It
Yeah.
makes a lot of
This
sense.
is
That make a lot.
strategic mindset.
That
All right,
make a lot of
John.
sense.
Thanks for coming to the show, buddy.
You know, I can
Yeah,
talk
thanks
all,
for
I'm a
coming.
preacher, so I can talk all day long.
Now you did great.
Before you go, can you tell us the name of your book
Oh, yeah.
and where people can find you?
Well, I'm
Not
still
out yet.
working on the title.
Principles
still have-
of.
It's gonna be a lot of principles.
No, what's
It's
the
gonna be a
name
lot
of it? It's
stuff.
Oh, he
called.
didn't-
I didn't finalize the title yet,
I
but
did.
I'm gonna break it on the show, right? That's
Okay,
what I'm gonna do.
okay,
Sorry,
okay.
okay.
Break it on the
Break it
show.
on the
Okay.
show.
That's
Hey,
exclusive.
follow me on Twitter. All my Twitter, Instagram, all my handle is I am John Burnett.
John Burnett.
Thanks,
Thank
John
you so
Burnett,
much.
for coming to the
Appreciate
show.
that.
We
You know,
appreciate you.
Very enlightening.
Cool.
I learned a lot tonight.
We got our
And
next
testified.
guest,
Thank you.
Terrell Simon, T-Rex, RNG, Sensation, about to come up. So we're going to take a few
need to
minutes.
pick your brain.
We want y'all to come back.
That's good.